This is Mac OS Ken.
Wait time shortened for iPhone 15 Pro in China. Battery life shortens for older iPhones running iOS 17. And making iPhone in India does not sound like fun. It is Tuesday, the 3rd of October, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. Something to watch that may turn into something about which analysts will worry. That piece from Seeking Alpha has Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani noting relatively short wait times for the Pro end of the iPhone 15 line in China. There's still a wait, 18 days for the iPhone 15 Pro and 25 days for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, according to the note. Here in the States, though, the wait said by the analyst to still be about 35 days for either Pro model. Does this mean weakening demand in China? Is Huawei getting its revenge? Actually, the Seeking Alpha piece doesn't have Daryanani addressing reasons for the shorter wait in China. Rather, the piece has him saying, as he has said before, delivery times could be a reflection of strong demand or weak supply, though we suspect given the variation in wait times that this data set more likely suggests higher demand. Higher in some places than others? As I say, it may turn into something about which analysts will worry. Daryanani doesn't seem worried now, though. He's got an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $210. Over 12 years ago, way back in 2011, when iPad 2 had just come out, there were reports of light leaks for some units. Like a day after the thing came out, CNET ran a piece saying 2 issues had cropped up for Apple's second tablet: light leaking from the bezel, as well as discoloration on the screen. I took a minute to decide whether I was going to mention it on Mac OS Ken way back then for a couple of reasons. First, anybody bothered by either thing already knew it was a thing. And second, and this was the bigger reason it took me a minute to decide, people who hadn't noticed either issue might go looking for it once I mentioned it, then either realize that their iPad had it, or convince themselves that their iPad had it. I went ahead and mentioned it because, well, it was news. But my worries were well-founded. I got an email from at least one person who said they had not realized that their iPad had the light leak thing until I mentioned it. So, thanks. Why revisit this 12-year-old story? So you won't convince yourself that iOS 17 is killing your battery, even though a piece from Cult of Mac says it might be. That site cites tests by iAppleBytes. According to those, tests on a range of iPhone models found that every one of them saw a decrease in battery life between iOS 16.7 and iOS 17. And no, moving to iOS 17.0.1 nor 17.0.2 did anything to fix the issue, though the piece says there have been slight improvements. With a marked decline in battery life tied directly to the new operating system, a software fix seems eminently likely. Cult of Mac suggests that the update Apple's working on to address overheating in iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max might actually do the trick. The way the cult sees it, heat is a symptom of power being wasted, and wasted power reduces battery life. If the iOS 17 bug that Apple is fixing affects more than the iPhone 15 series, then previous devices could see longer times between needing to recharge once the next bug fix arrives. So, if you've noticed quicker battery drain since the iOS 17 update, it's not just you. And if you haven't noticed quicker battery drain since the iOS 17 update, don't go looking for it now. Remember the Foxconn iPhone factory in India that had the food poisoning and the protesting and the Apple suspension back in late 2021? There is good news and bad news on that. The good news, according to a report from Time, a lot of conditions at that Tamil Nadu facility have improved. Apple Insider highlights the report. Following the 2021 protests, the piece says workers who spoke to Time noted positive changes, such as an increase in worker salaries and the removal of a rule that workers had to live in subcontractor-provided hostels. Working conditions and canteen food have improved, but problems remain. Yeah, that's where we get to the bad news. It still sucks to work building iPhones for Foxconn. Not working for Foxconn to build iPhones. Apparently most people in India don't do that. They don't work for Foxconn. According to the report on the report, workers at the Foxconn-owned factory are employed by a third-party contractor. That gives Foxconn a flexible workforce, yay, and fewer legal obligations than if the workers work for Foxconn directly. Boo. The piece quotes one labor lawyer in India as saying, unlike fixed-term employees, these so-called contract laborers do not know even whether they can earn their livelihood beyond tomorrow. That is the degree of uncertainty we are talking about. This whole contract labor system is designed to lower labor costs and evade responsibility for compliance with labor laws. Is it all bad? Well, it kind of depends on how you mean. Workers of the plant are said to get double the state minimum wage for electronics workers. Well, that sounds good. It's horribly low. Workers at the iPhone plant make the equivalent of between 99 cents and $1.22 US per hour, according to the report. One worker is quoted as saying, "When I compare my salary to the cost of an iPhone, obviously they can pay me better." Sounds bad. But wait. Being contract workers, the piece says they don't get sick leave, they don't get vacation days, and the piece says workers are docked pay for taking leave on consecutive Mondays and Saturdays, and if they take 3 days of leave off consecutively. Also, hourly demands are often such that workers say they don't have time to go to the bathroom. Additionally, even trying to get more comfortable, aka alleviate pain from repetitive movements in specific positions, can result in a reprimand. Both Apple and Foxconn offered reassuring statements to Time. While the company said they are in regular communication with stakeholders, local agencies, and employees, neither responded to specific allegations in the Time report. A public service announcement to go along with Monday's public service announcement. I told you yesterday of a thing that's happening tomorrow here in the States. The FCC and FEMA will be testing wireless emergency alerts here in the U.S. That'll involve blasting out your smartphone with loud noises, vibrations, and a message, testing the government's ability to alert you to such goings-on as an alien invasion, a nuclear attack, or some other national emergency. That's scheduled to happen tomorrow, Wednesday, the 4th of October, at about 2:20 p.m. Eastern, 11:20 a.m. Pacific. Now, Mouseketeer roll caller John wrote to me yesterday with something he thought I might want to share. According to John, a user on TikTok is also trying to spread word about the test. Her focus was on getting the message to folks who keep a hidden device around for emergencies. Specifically, potential victims of abuse and so on might have a hidden device unknown to their abusers. That device risks being outed if the alert goes off, since it overrides any silent settings. She wanted these at-risk people to know to turn off these devices for the duration of the test. Thanks for your email, John. Everybody else, Wednesday, the 4th of October, 20 past 2 in the afternoon back east, 11:20 a.m. way out west. Any cell phones you have powered are going to get noisy. FYI. Speaking of noise, if you've been considering Apple's recently reintroduced full-sized HomePod, A piece from Mac Rumors says it has started to make its way to Apple's Refurbished store. It's not there for the US yet, though Apple has carved out a space for it. The piece says it is already for sale refurbished in a number of regions, including the UK and Europe, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and others. According to the report, prices are discounted by approximately 15% compared to brand new HomePod. In the UK, for example, a refurbished HomePod costs £249, down from £299. In the US, a refurbished HomePod will cost $249, down from $299. If you're still rocking one of the very first Apple Watches, how and why, and don't let anything happen to it. It's hard to imagine there are many. The last OS supported by the device was 2018's watchOS 5. Still, service was possible until this past weekend. Now a piece from Mac Rumor says all of the Model 0 2015 Apple Watch models were moved to Apple's Obsolete list on Saturday. As of the 30th of September 2023, Apple's very first Apple Watch units are no longer eligible for service nor repair from Apple nor Apple-authorized service providers. And yes, if you are wondering, that includes the $17,000 model with the 18-karat gold casing. Maybe you could melt it down. And finally today, if you're not tired of hearing how much you love Lionel Messi, good news. A piece from 9 to 5 Mag says Apple on Monday announced that its first Lionel Messi documentary series will premiere on the 11th of October. Its first documentary series about him. You just can't believe how much you love this guy, can ya? According to the report, Messi Meets America covers the arrival of the soccer phenom to the U.S. Major League Soccer League when he joined Inter Miami in July. It features interviews and commentary with David Beckham, Messi himself, and more. Man, how'd they get Messi? The piece goes on to say the 6-part series will take viewers behind the scenes of Messi's decision to move to American soccer and how he made his mark right out of the gate with a nail-biting last-minute goal in his debut match. You know, I was more interested in MLS on Apple TV before they made it all about one guy. Then again, I never actually subscribed, so my level of interest is probably negligible as far as Apple is concerned. The show premieres in a little over a week. The trailer for Messi Meets America is up now on YouTube. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.